understanding government regulations in any country is difficult, and legal speak and all that sort of stuff. But when they speak in a different language, I tell you what, it's not easy to try to make heads or tails of what's happening, and things change. This is Indonesia. Things tend to be a little bit more fluid than most people here would like to expect. Rules come in, but they don't get ratified, and then they get changed. And so about 2 weeks ago, a new information letter was put out by the government. It was 115 pages long, and it was talking all about visa on arrivals. It was talking about the immigration opportunities for kitas, which kitas just means temporary stay permit. Now, you can have a multiple year kitas, you can have a single year kitas. Kitas is just their word for a temporary stay permit. There are now 12 different categories of kitas, and within those categories there's subcategories. So this is a really, really serious and important vlog for me to try to get through to you, and I'm going to try as much as I can. I've had to write this down because, firstly, I didn't write the rules, so please don't shoot the messenger. Secondly, I didn't interpret them either because I don't speak good enough Bahasa. So I've got a mate of mine who's actually an immigration agent, and he's also a YouTuber, and his name's Ocky Misa, and he's got his own YouTube page called WhatsupbBali, and I absolutely recommend. Here's the link to WhatsApp. Go onto his page and contact him directly. And in fact, it's WhatsupbBali, all one word, @gmail.com. He can arrange visas. He can give you information specific to your circumstance and tell you ways of doing things. He's an incredibly good guy to know and very, very useful contact here in Bali. So I've almost directly plagiarized his vlog and tried to put it into a little bit more Australian English so I can help you guys to understand it. And also for people who up till this day haven't followed him. So bear with me because it's a bit complicated. It's as boring as batshit, but it's bloody important. And I've got pages of information sitting on the laptop next to me. So I'll tell you what, I've mixed myself up a glass of Coke. It doesn't have any Jack Daniels in it. Well, maybe a little bit. Oh, that's better. I'm going to try and talk you through this. So back in August, the letter came out. It was 115 pages long, and it's set to be, now this is believed accurate as of today, and it's the 17th of September today, and the regulations are set to come in, bear with me, on the 24th of October. Up until then, or thereabouts, unless there's any changes or alterations, and that's possible, but up until then, the current visa situation does apply, and I'll probably mention a little bit of that as I go through. But there are 12 categories of kitas. Now, kitas means temporary stay permit, and if you want to come and live in Bali, you're going to need a kitas of some sort, and then long term, if you've been here for enough time, you can apply for kitap, which is a permanent stay permit, permanent residency. So I'll try to keep away from as many of the jargon whatever as I can. But I definitely say subscribe to Ocky at WhatsupbBali. He has the most up-to-date and the most accurate information. He's a visa agent and he's Balinese. So he can help you to answer all of the questions and interpret the regulations the way they need to. So there are, what are there? There's 10 Southeast Asian countries where you can just turn up at the border and they'll let you straight in. And I'm going to put a list of those right here. They don't need a visa, and they can come and stay for a maximum of 30 days. If they want to stay longer, or if they choose to, if you come from another country, there is the visa on arrival, which is the same way that most visitors come over to Bali. And there's two ways you can apply for that as well. You can turn up at the airport and just pay your $50 over the counter. Now, $50 is approximate. And again, I'm speaking Australian dollars. And you can extend that visa once, so you can stay for up to 60 days if you come from, I think it's 96 countries. So if you come from one of 96 countries around the world, you can check it out. Now, to do that, there's a website, and I'm just trying to find where it is. It is, it's somewhere. There's a website. I'll put it up. I'll put it there. And it is the, oh, here it goes, evisa.immigracy.co.id. And you can actually apply for your visa. You can go on there and see if your country is one of the 96 countries that are allowed to come here with the visa on arrival. And if not, you have to contact someone like Ocky. You have to get an immigration agent who can put in a B211 or another type of visa to allow you to come here. So that's the simple part. Most countries in the Western civilized world are on that 96 country list. So that's pretty simple. Right. Up until now, if you wanted to come and stay in Bali longer than the 60 or so days, you got what was called a B211 or B211A visa. And that was like a tourist visa or a business visa. And you could get it for 60 days and you could extend that a couple of times and stay while you're here up to 6 months. So they've sort of changed that a little bit. And they've said you can't extend it on shore. So you can only come for the 60 days on that visa. But they're saying that in soon to come, they're going to have that option directly for up to 180 days. So it'll cost more, but you'll be able to come in here on a B211A, and that will allow you to stay here for 6 months, so 180 days. When this all comes in, and I'm not going to guarantee when it's going to happen, but that's one of the changes that they've made. The next one is they've brought in a multiple entry visa. Now, this is mostly for people who want to do business in Bali or Indonesia, and you want to pop over, spend a few weeks here, and then duck back home, and then come back again and flop around the place. And it's only valid for 60 days at a time. So you can come and spend 2 months in Bali, but you must leave the country at least for 24 hours or do a quick visa hop back to Singapore or something, and then you can stay for another 6 months without having to reapply. And that visa, I believe, is only available for 12 months, but it's soon to be up for 2 years and also for 5 years in coming months. So in theory, if you have a situation, a work situation or whatever, fly in, fly out, so for one perfect example, when you don't want to come over here for a long time, you just want to keep coming back over and over again without having to mess around with visas, without having to be restricted by times, that would be a perfect visa for you to look at. And with that up to 5 years, that's just makes life easy for a lot of people that do have alternative employment or do have alternative options, or living in other countries, or just traveling around and want to use Bali as a home base or a regular come back to place. So that one is the D212 visa. Now, kitas, temporary stay permits. There are 12 types of kitas, and I'm going to go through the types first, and then I want to go into the details of the visas that they have agreed to accept. Now, believed accurate. Hang on a sec. This gets confusing. Sorry, guys, but it does the head in of the people who are running the company as much as it's doing my end. And I'm just trying to make it as easy as I can for you to understand. So, firstly, the categories of people that can come and apply for a kitas is, number 1, experts. 2, workers, if you want to come over to Bali to work. 3, if you work on a cruise ship or a ship crew and you want to be able to come into Bali while your ship's in port and stuff like that. 4, for spiritual purposes. 5 are investor visas, and that's a whole heap of subclasses there as well. And we'll go through the investor's visa because that's often the way that people that want to come over here and do a bit of commerce and make some money and spend some money usually end up arranging it. Number 6 is scientific purposes. And that's if you're working with an institution, which you're working with an organisation, or if you're doing research on scientific purposes, you can apply for a visa, special visa, under those conditions. Student visa, if you're coming over here to study, if you want to do any research or study in Bali itself and go to a school or college or something. The family unification visa, which is the one I'm on. Now I'm married to an Indonesian. I came back this time on a spouse visa, they used to call it, but it's called a family unification visa. Now, this could also apply if your husband is on a work permit, or your wife is on a work permit and they are legally allowed to be here. You could apply as a spouse of a person on that permit to come over here. And generally, as far as I know, it's worked. You can't work while you're on that visa. You would have to apply for a separate work visa, but it's to be with your family. Go into more details as we come. A repatriation visa. Now, this is a special one, but it's for people who have been Indonesian citizens who have left, moved overseas, and they want to come back and stay here, but they don't want to go back through the whole process of becoming a resident or a citizen. So they can become a permanent resident, but they need to get their repatriation kitas first. A big category that's opened up is the second home visa. Now, this is more complicated. I'm going to break that down further, but under that second home visa, there are just a straight up second home visa where someone who just wants to spend half the year over here and half the year at home, wherever they else are. There's one that comes up for special expertise if you're bringing certain skills to Bali and bringing an expertise and also spending half your time elsewhere or moving around. If you're famous, you can get a visa for famous people. How's that? You've got to be invited by the government or you've got to have a whole heap of special tickets or something. And it's not a cheap visa, let me tell you. Senior citizens, now they had their own visa, which we used to call a retirement visa. And that's now being put under the umbrella of the second home visa. And the other one is remote workers. So we'll go into that. There's also a kitas available for if you're coming over here for long-term medical treatment. And a new visa that's opening up called the Digital Nomad Visa for people who want to work in Bali, but they get paid and they're effectively doing online work like architects or even people doing YouTube and stuff like that, who are working on their computers, they're working online, and they are actually getting an income from another country or from their home country. So, and there are lots and lots of digital nomads. I believe there was tens of thousands of them staying here during COVID because they were stuck throughout in Southeast Asia. Bali had one of the best facilities for them to be able to base themselves. So look, let me go through those categories and we'll try and break them down into what are the basic requirements that you need to satisfy that visa. So if we go from back to section 1 to 4 was experts, workers, ship crew and spiritual. Essentially, it's the same as a working kitas. So you need to be sponsored, you need an invitation letter from the institution or from the organisation or company you're working with, and there's a whole process that goes through to ensure that you are legitimately coming here to work, you are bringing skills to the country that the country needs, and the government will then approve you as per the current sort of working visa regulations have been. So that covers the 4 first categories. Next, the Category 5 investor visa is opening up, and it's complicated. So currently, if you set up a PT PMA, which is like in Australia we'd call it a proprietary limited company, if you're setting up a PT PMA in Bali or in Indonesia, you can get a kitas for 2 years, and you must have 10 billion or 1 million Australian dollars of capital. So soon with the new visa, you'll be able to get a 5-year kitas, but your company's got to have about $4 million Australian or 40 billion rupiah, Indonesian rupiah. But that means you don't have to keep applying every year, and you've got that peace of mind to know for the next 5 years you're going to be covered. So if you've got a big business, if you've got the financial means to be able to support it and to invest, as long as your company has 4 million in capital, well, then you're good to stay here. Now, so if there is also investor visa for people who don't want to work in Bali, they don't want to own a pub, they don't want to set up a restaurant. Now, there are certain limitations. If you get an investor visa, you could open a pub, you could buy into a hotel or a restaurant or something else, but you actually working behind the counter in that restaurant or in that hotel isn't really a done thing over here. It's expected as an investor that you're allowed to train your staff, that you're allowed to set it up and operate it the way you want. However, you put a manager into the day-to-day operations, you put waiting staff and kitchen staff, and you employ Indonesian citizens to do the work, and you sit back as the investor and make sure it all happens. So there are skills. If you bring certain skills to the party that you can't get here, then there are ways that you can have more of a hands-on approach in that investor area. But again, go to Ocky, ask him, and understand what you are and are not allowed to do before you start shelling out a lot of money. Because I know a lot of people that have come over here and thought, okay, I'm just going to come over here and buy a pub. I've got $50,000 in the bank and I'm going to set up a restaurant or something. And they've ended up with a whole heap of hurt because they just haven't understood the requirements or haven't understood the system over here. So very much before you get any of these visas, just do some homework, do some research. This is just an opening vlog to try to give you some information on what has just been announced and what's about to take place. So if you want to come here as an investor, but you don't necessarily want to work in Bali or don't directly want to conduct business, you might want to maybe just own property and be able to come to and from as much as you want, or something like that. But you're really not owning or setting up businesses or something. You have to invest around $500,000 Australian in an Indonesian public company or Indonesian managed or mutual fund or a government, what do they call it? I don't look. So look, you need to have $500,000 that you can invest here in Bali, and put it into a mutual fund or something like that, or a registered company, a registered on the stock exchange public company that's been publicly listed before you try to apply. So you can't even sort of open a PTY Ltd and just pop in here, or a limited company. That's one. If you invest $1 million and you want to buy an apartment building or something like that, you can get up to 10 years on an investment visa. So 500,000 might get you a short-term one, but $1 million will get you a 10-year visa. If you buy an apartment in Indonesia with a value of $1.5 million, you're automatically qualified, or potentially qualified to stay for up to 10 years. There are other types of investor visa, and there's visas for people with lots of money, which is something I don't have. There's visas for people, famous people, that involve $50 million deposit or $50 million of investment putting into the company. So look, this is sort of, I don't know, some of it seems to me a bit pie in the sky stuff, but they're trying to set it up so people with money who are bringing real funds over to Bali can help Bali to be able to bring itself up into a better standard of living for the people of Bali, and not just people to come over here and exploit the infinite trade of people that are coming. Let's move on. Under the scientific kitas, you need to show proof, much like you would with a work permit. You need to show proof of institution or the organisation that you're going to be studying under. With a student visa, a letter from the school or university, or at least a letter from an Indonesian citizen to say that they're sponsoring you to go to this school or go to this university, or however that's being organised. If under the family unification, you must have family members here, as I said before, like marriage, or your spouse or your child or something is here, studying here or working here under a different visa, and you can apply to stay here with them under that spouse unification visa. Next, Indo citizens, that's sort of pretty self-explanatory. They've moved away, they've come back, and they want to stay here and go through the process of either just temporarily staying here or staying here more permanently. There's a visa set up for them. The second home visa. Now, look, this is where this is going to cause some controversy, and I'm really sorry for people that are upset by this, but I think, and I hope that there's going to be some changes to this, because it's come up before and it umbrellas the retirement kitas. And I know there are thousands and thousands of Aussies, expats, and people from all around the world who are living in Bali, who don't have massive amount of money, but they're living comfortably. They're looking after the people of Bali. They're paying their taxes, or they're paying their dues and whatnot, and they don't have enormous funds to be able to invest or to leave money in a bank. This will affect you as it currently reads. So please understand this, and I'll try to go through it carefully. But I'm concerned for this one specifically. So the second home visa, what they're stating, what they're asking for is you need to deposit $200,000 in Australian dollars into an Indonesian bank account, or buy an apartment with a value of 1.5 million Australian dollars. Or if you're coming in, that's just for the straight second home visa. That's not the retirement visa. You can get a second home visa if you've got cash in the bank, or if you're going to buy a property over here. Or 2, the special expertise category. You must have graduated from the top 100 universities in the world and also have a certificate of expertise in a certain field that is something that is needed in Bali or Indonesia. So there are people who fall into a category where they're bringing very specialised skills to the format, and the country saying, yes, look, come on over, because these are potentially skills that we don't have here in Indonesia. World famous people, you've got to invest at least 25 million US dollars or up to $50 million in business in Indonesia. Look, there are some world famous people. You've got to be invited by the government to come over and stuff like that. But this is the big one here coming up, senior citizens. Now, under the second home visa, the category number 4, senior citizen, was commonly known as the retirement kitas. It's now the senior citizen kitas, and the regulations have been up until and including right now, you only have to be 55 years old, and you have to have a proof of income in Australian dollars of about $3,000 sitting in a bank. So you've got a little bit of money, and you can support yourself while you're over here. That is about to change. You must be, according to the regulations, you must be 60 years of age, plus you have a bank statement for 5,000 Australian dollars, and you need to deposit 50,000 US dollars in a Bank of Indonesia. That's going to change the situation for a lot of people. I don't know. Look, I believe if you're already on a retirement visa, depending on how long that visa is, will determine how much longer you've got to stay here. I don't know, and I'd love to have an answer to this, and I'll try and find out. But if you're already on the old system, when you renew your visa, when it runs out next year or this year or later or something, I imagine you probably have to go onto the new visa system, and you can't just update the old one. So that's going to cause problems. That's going to cause massive problems, because a lot of retirees don't have 50 grand US dollars, which is about 75,000 Australian, sitting in a bank account waiting just for you to pop it into a Indonesian account. That's going to be a problem. Look, the last one is the digital nomad visa, and this is a little bit vague. You must have proof of a formal university or college education of at least 2 years. Now, there's a lot of people over here that are operating as digital nomads, that are working in very successful companies, that are running successful vlogs like this one here, that don't necessarily have proof of a 2-year college education or university degrees and stuff like that. So watch this space. This information was said to be written or drafted on the 24th of August, and it said it must be in force within 60 days, which brings us up to the 24th of October. It may come in sooner. It may get changed. It may be adjusted or adapted, but I tell you what, that's got a lot of people over here worried. By all means, leave comments. Please leave your comments respectful. I'm not allowed to have on my YouTube channel comments that are directly negative to the government, because then it reflects badly on me. So please, if you have an opinion, please share it respectfully. Otherwise, I will have to delete those comments. But if you've got questions, put them through me if you can. I'll try and get Ocky to help me to understand them better. I might even try and get Ocky to come here, sit down, the two of us can have a good chat about it, and we can take some of those questions and answer your inquiries. But guys, it's a pretty big change to the system that's been around. It's going to mean potentially there are tens of thousands of people that have been living in Bali for years that don't have the opportunity to continue staying here. And I really hope that that isn't the case, but my gut feeling says it could be. I will find out that information as soon as I can, and I will do an update and a follow-up, or at least look in the comments of this video, because if there's any changes, if I've made anything incorrect, I very, very much apologise. I'm only going second, third hand from the information I've got, but it's got me worried, and I know it's got a lot of other people worried. So, look, I hope that's made it a bit clear. I'm going to continue doing my Retire to Bali series. I'm going to continue doing my living in Bali and all my other stuff. As you know, we're also running a registered charity over here now. Fee is the director of the charity, and we have been out helping people in the villages. We've been out donating wheelchairs and beds and stuff like that, and we're going to continue doing that. And also the fun stuff, because look, there's no point coming to Bali if it's all doom and gloom, or if it's just all poor people. It's all about enjoying the time you are here, respecting the people that you're here to see, and the country and the culture that you're here to visit, and going home with a great attitude and great memories. So thanks for coming. I hope that this hasn't changed too much in your future. It is confusing, and you might have to go back, pause, rewind. And if you're not sure about what I'm saying, like I said, put it in the comments, send me an email. Here's an email address. So if you need me to answer something personally or to try to find out something for you, I will do my best. The other email is ocky@whatsupbali@gmail.com. Subscribe to Ocky's channel as well. He will keep you informed from a local perspective. I will do my best to try to help you fill the gaps between what we understand as Australians and what they understand over here as Indonesians. Thanks for coming. Enjoy your Sunday, if I haven't ruined it for you. And I tell you what, if you're like me, you're going to go want to have a cold beer or something, because, yeah, it's a lot to process. And I hope it hasn't, I hope it hasn't changed too many things, because look, I've semi-retired here in Bali. I've never been so busy nor so happy in my life. So cheers, guys. I hope you make it over here soon, and I'll see you when you get here.